have to love the power of that gavel, huh? Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Tourist Development Council meeting for Thursday, June 11th, 2015. The time is 9 a.m. And let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated, and please call the roll.
Commissioner Brian Hammond.
Present.
Renee Fordick.
Here.
Kevin Ruane.
Here.
Fran Myers.
Here.
Forrest Banks.
Here.
Pamela Cronin. Here. Tony Lappy.
Here.
Colleen DePasquale. Here. Bill Wachulis.
Here.
Jeff Webb.
Here.
And Rob Wells is excused.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our May 14th meeting?
Moved. Second.
I have a motion by Renee Fordick and second by Mayor Ruane. Any discussion, council members? No discussion. Are there any objections? No objection. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving right along to public to be heard. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard this morning? Well, let's go ahead and step right up. Jennifer, why don't you come out? Let's have our special Mango Mania.
Can you believe it's been already a year?
Yeah. I had that same outfit at home.
He's not lying. He has that outfit at home. I've seen it.
I'm kidding.
Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. The Greater Pine Island Chamber of Commerce, you know, as Mango Mania each year. It's been going on for 19 years. This year it's July 18th and 19th. The Board of Directors and the staff and also the whole community would like to thank you all for supporting it throughout the years. This year I'd like to introduce Ms. Jonna Bouchard. She is our 2015 Mango Queen.
Good morning, everyone, and I want to thank you all for all the hard work that you do throughout the year for our area and our island. I have lived on Pine Island for 9 years. I'm a realtor there, and I just am pretty excited to be the Mango Queen this year. Please come and see us, July 18th and 19th. And I also wanted to give credit to my beautiful dress to artist Mel Mio from Pine Island. I'm sure some of you are familiar with her work, and I am very pleased to be wearing this dress. I look forward to seeing you all, and thank you very much.
We've also brought some extra mangoes and some jams back there for whoever wants to go ahead and take them home. I'm overloaded right now with some mangoes. We're getting them cutting up for the tasting table and for some, the chamber will be doing Mango Julius this year. So, yes, everybody goes, ooh. So please come down and see us July 18th and 19th. And again, thank you for all your support.
Very good. Let's have the folks from the Wonder Gardens next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Trish Leonard, and I am the president of Bonita Wonder Gardens, which represents the Everglades Wonder Gardens. And we're here today to thank you for, we actually submitted a grant, our first grant, for the arts and attractions. But for some of you in the room who may not know, we are open. We have filled 15 board members, not-for-profit folks in our community. We have 15 board members and 15 advisory groups from our community and throughout the community to help us with the future for the Wonder Gardens. We have a lot going on over the next year with renovations, and we just wanted to invite everyone to come on down and see us. One real exciting news is that we do have a new executive director, and she's standing next to me, so I'm going to let her say something.
Good morning. I wear two hats. One of them is that I'm the city council member for the City of Bonita Springs. I'm Janet Martin. And the new hat that I'm wearing is the executive director of the Bonita Wonder Gardens. And I just very easily found these great postcards that are from the 1940s of our beautiful garden. And the things that are there, that have been there forever, we are embracing and we are reopening to the public. There was a time when the Piper family closed the gardens 2 years ago, and our local photographer, John Brady, opened the gardens, and he has moved a couple of rocks for us and changed a lot of things, but we've got one big rock we have to push aside, and we need your help to do that, and that is that we are open. We didn't close, we didn't go away, and we continue to be there, and we will be celebrating, as Trish said, our 80th year in business as a South Lee County tourist attraction. And that's what we will be keeping in our mission as we move forward, that we've been there. It's a historical site, and we are embracing all that's good in the property. We still have our alligators, and we still have our beautiful flamingos, but we also have a beautiful botanical garden. So we thank you so much for your support. I want to thank you for all that you do for the city of Bonita Springs, and we welcome you all to come down and see the gardens. Thank you.
And one quick thing, we did partner with a couple of hotels in the area because we do plan to do a full year of our 80th celebration. So if you're a hoteler in the room and you would like to give me your card, that would be great as well. Thank you very much.
Very good, and congratulations.
Thank you.
On the big anniversary. Yes, let's.
Good morning, Commissioners and fellow colleagues supporting tourism here in Lee County and the surrounding areas. I am Beth Oliver, the Director of Marketing with Offshore Sailing School. We're based here in Fort Myers. We did announce at the last TDC meeting that we opened our 8th location in New York, and the significance of that for most people in this room is that that is the largest feeder market for not only Offshore Sailing School but also for tourism in this area. And we worked with the VCB last year to create some very special commemorative sales when we were celebrating our 50th anniversary, and those sales grace the sailboats, the Colgate 26s that we have in New York Harbor. So we are open there at North Cove Marina in Battery Park City. We were able to generate some significant media coverage not only up there, but if you didn't see last week in the news press, we had a nice article, and that led into Wink TV giving us a call. So I want to show you just a clip in 1 minute or less than that. But I also wanted to invite everyone in this room and all of your employees to join us for a summer solstice celebration. Those of you know the summer solstice is a week from Sunday, the longest day of the year. So out on Captiva Island in Fort Myers Beach, we're going to be celebrating that on Saturday, June 20th. And for only $35, we're offering 1-hour sail rides at both the Pink Shell Resort and South Seas on Captiva. So I'm going to leave these flyers on the front table. We invite all of your employees. We invite everyone in the community to come on out for a great experience on the water and see the area a little bit differently. So without further ado, I'd like to just take a couple minutes and show you the piece that aired on Wink TV. We're also courting right now CNN and New York Times for some more coverage on Offshore Sailing School in this beautiful area. So thank you very much. Please roll it.
Southwest Florida Sailing School says business is booming and their success is attracting visitors from all around the country. Offshore Sailing School.
Colgate started their company and relationship just over 50 years ago.
I fell in love with sailing. I fell in love with Steve Colgate and married the school.
Thank you.
Southwest Florida Sailing School says business is booming and their success is attracting visitors from all around the country. Offshore Sailing School has been around for over 50 years, but the owners are now expanding the company to the Big Apple.
Wink News reporter Morgan Francis has more on their expansion and how it could boost business here.
Sailing is a breeze, if there is a breeze, and also if you have the proper instruction. Doris and Stephen Colgate started their company and relationship just over 50 years ago.
I fell in love with sailing. I fell in love with Steve Colgate and married the school.
The couple wanted to share their love of sailing with others.
When we first started here at South Seas Plantation in 1975, no one knew us. No one knew South Seas. No one knew Fort Myers, it seemed, and it's just built up tremendously since then.
Built up so much, the Colgates decided to expand. With the addition of a school in Lower Manhattan near Battery Park, the captain and his first mate have 8 schools around the country.
For one thing, it's our reputation. When you've been around 51 years, people, word of mouth is the biggest way people hear about it.
The new Manhattan school has sales that advertise Fort Myers and Sanibel beaches. The idea is for people to start their training in Manhattan and finish it here in Fort Myers, where there's more advanced and bigger boat training available. Through offshore sailing schools, the Colgates have taught more than 130,000 people how to sail, and they're hoping more people will want to learn in Southwest Florida. Morgan Francis, Wink News, now.
The school in New York costs about $900. The school here includes different accommodations and costs a little bit more.
Very exciting. All right. Thanks for the feedback on that one. The jokes are free, by the way. All right, thank you, guys. Who else would like to be heard? Yes, in the green shirt.
Industry called convergence, which is basically the mobile app and advertisers. And advertisers say, go follow the eyes where the eyes go. So this new mobile app called UBiz, which is owned by AI Yellow. If people know who AI Yellow is, it's an international yellow pages based out of South America, started by the Chamber of Commerce in South America. They are an AAA rated company, $8 billion a year company. What this mobile app does, it has the ability, the technology to work through localization, which means it's already active here in Southwest Florida, where you have local businesses working on localization. In other words, you have a 12.5-mile diameter to be seen locally. The advantage of this is it can also create a community where you can communicate with your members and you create your own database, so if you want to send out a daily message to them, they will receive the message on this UBiz app worldwide. So Canadians, people from up north coming down here, when they have this app is free to download. It's called UBiz on Apple and Android phone. So this is something that's new into the market. Its official launch is in October of this year, but it's already in 90 countries around the world. So Larry Murphy and I, there's Larry over there, we're the representatives here for Southwest Florida, and any business can put it on here and advertise themselves, hotels, restaurants, to promote themselves. It's already starting to come here. And the cost, believe it or not, is only 8 cents a day for a business to be on here, which is $30 a year. It's a new technology, and it's a free app to download. It's called UBiz, and it's mobile and it's global, and that's what we want to introduce to this market. You're going to start seeing more of it in your emails. You're going to start seeing it everywhere else. But we believe this technology is growing, and this is something we're expanding to Southwest Florida.
Great.
Larry?
Thank you all for coming.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wonderful pleasure, and Armando did a fabulous job, I'm sure, and filled you in. The only thing I like to do with regarding UBiz is to let you know that we have some flyers here. I was invited to the last event. I did the rock climb, and I didn't fall off, but I didn't quite get to the top. I was at that event. It's a fabulous event. Hope to attend next year. But in the meantime, I'll be back in the corner being quiet, and I'll pass these out to anybody who wants them. Anybody in the biz actually can utilize these. I'm sure he made that well known. It's something that's going to be the rage. I'm the oldest guy in America texting with the G6, and I can do it, so anybody can do it. And I'm going to see all my friends here making a lot of extra money in the next short time. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murphy. And let's see, from the Edison home,
Thank you, and good morning, and I want to thank you again, Brian, for your tour at Edison Ford about a month ago, so now you know everything, right?
Something like that.
I'm here with some great news to tell you all. Chris Pendleton from Edison Ford. I was just told yesterday by Janet that we are now one of the top 100 group visitation destinations in America as designated by the ABA, which means our friends in the bus and group tour business are all going to know about us as one of the top 100. We're very excited about that, and Janet, thank you very much for that. We're on track this year to finish out the year at 250,000, so it's been a terrific steady growth for us over the last 10 years. Seems like every year we keep packing in another 10 to 15,000 people, so it's been a terrific year, great growth in international market, but then a big growth also in family market. Our big news is that this next year our new product is a river pavilion of 40 feet that is going to be a replica of the Edison and Ford, well, I guess it was Thomas Edison's river pavilion out on the river. It'll be there in the Coconut Grove for events, music, classes. Renee will have Elder Hostel down there. So it'll be a great new attraction for us on the beach and shoreline of the Edison Ford Winter Estates. Our big program the last year has been our cruise addition to the Edison Ford Winter Estates shoreline. The marina at Edison Ford has just given us a full day of activities now, historic and also on the water. If you have not been out for the nighttime birding cruise, it's something really special for Fort Myers. We head upriver, and I'd like to thank Lance. Julian, please stand, Lance. G'day, I love that, G'day, who not only runs the river program, the cruise program, but also has a very innovative side of him. He's just back from Taiwan, where he's filming the newest Martin Scorsese water-based film called Silence, and he's going to show the Titanic for us in the fall, and some behind the scenes and water-based experiences. So we're very lucky to have his film experience also in our area. And we'd like to show a 90-minute film, 90-second film. Rest. I know I'm bad at the mic, but I'm not 90 minutes bad. That was funded by our TDC grant last year, and want to make note that yesterday he added the closed captioning on it, so we're excited it's ADA, but tomorrow he's adding the BCB TDC logo at the very end of it. So you're not going to see that floating in the water today, but you will see it tomorrow. So thank you very much for all your hard work, and I'd like to show that film now, if it's okay.
Thomas Edison came down in the 1880s when this was just a tiny little cow town and a fishing town. The property's been restored to the way it was in the 1920s, so it looks just like Thomas is in his workshop, mine is in the garden. Henry Ford worked for Thomas Edison and visited so often that he bought the house next door. We get 220,000 ticketed visitors, but we know there's lots of other folks that we don't count. Yeah, they can see exactly how it was way back when, and we have varieties of tours. You can get inside the house, you can get inside the laboratory. I think one of the most interesting things about this property is it's not just a fancy estate, a winter retreat. It's also a working research garden. Everywhere you look, there's evidence of what Edison and Ford were working on together for either edible crops or for industry or for chemistry or for some reason. So that makes this property really unique. And in a sense, it really showcases Edison and Ford as inventors but also real people. You know, they love to get outside, they love to get on the water. And the story is that he was interested in bamboo, and bamboo was growing on the property, and bamboo was the filament of his early light bulbs. We have a partnership going now with the marina at Edison Ford, our next-door neighbor, which provides great food and now a cruise program for visitors to get out on the Caloosahatchee. There are 30 acres here, 15 historic buildings, a huge museum full of inventions. If you're looking for someplace unique, it's here.
Great video. All right, John Lai.
Thanks. My name is John Lyon. I'm the general manager of the Inns of Sanibel, as well as the president of your Lee County Hotel Association. And I'd like to take a moment. I would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone around the table and in this room for all the hard work and dedication that you have committed to our community and to our industry. Over the past few days, the LCHA board has had an opportunity to look through the proposed budget for 2015 and 16 that I know is on the agenda today and you have in front of you today. One of the things that I wanted to voice our concern for was that it seems as though that the budget has remained flat in dollars year over year, not including the $1.4 million increase that was approved in March. In reviewing both the fiscal year 15-16 first draft memo and the recordings from the budget workshops, it appears really evident to us that there's ongoing dialogue and consideration of reallocation of bed tax distribution. Everyone in this room and everyone here has worked very, very hard to achieve the recognition and notoriety that our county has received over the past several years. And we know that we've seen record years, consecutive years, and it couldn't be done without all of the things that you guys are doing. Not only in our individual properties are we seeing great numbers, we're seeing it as a county. I'm a firm believer that this is not the time to change that formula that's resulted in so much success. Our competition continues to chase us, and if we take the foot off the gas now, their marketing efforts and their enhancements of their assets, such as their beaches and facilities, I believe will open the door for them to catch us. So I want to just urge everyone here to examine today the budget and commit to continue down the path that's resulted in so much success. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Lyon.
Good morning, members of the TAC. My name is Sam Swami. I'm the owner of the Best Western Fort Myers Inn and Suites, the Tahitian Inn, and the Pier View Inn and Suites on Fort Myers Beach. Again, I like to echo that John has said about the budget proposal today. Basically, I think it means like a 9 to 10% decrease in the funds that are allocated to marketing this destination. And in comparison to the competition that we deal with, which is Miami, Orlando, I think it's a huge decrease, and we need to really step up because of the challenges. I attended Powwow about 2 years ago at LA. It's called IPW right now, and I attended the function put on by the Lee County Visitors and Convention Bureau in conjunction with the St. Petersburg at that time. I think there were like 200 people there, or 250, I'm not too sure. And that was my first event. I don't attend Powwow and those events, so I was very impressed. Then 2 days later, I went to the San Francisco party. There was 3,000 people. It started at 8 o'clock and went up to 1 or 2 o'clock. And the comparison. So that's the scale that we're dealing with. We're dealing with, we're the small guy on the street, and we're dealing with these very competitive people. And I believe that our VCB needs all the resources, all the talents to really succeed. They're doing an excellent, outstanding job with what they have, but they need the tools to succeed, I'm also the chair of the Best Western Florida Co-op. And we get information into it. For every dollar that we invest in marketing, we get $10 to $18 in return, an ROI. 10 on the publication, 18 on the digital. So, we're getting a tremendous amount of return. As I say, I don't have information for the VCB, but for Best Western, we're seeing a tremendous return on the investments and the marketing as it occurs. Also, Best Western is also very aggressive. It's a membership organization. We have to vote if we want to increase marketing, and we have a fund that perpetually increases marketing dollars. So we're committed to marketing because we understand that without it, people are not going to come to our hotels. And we ask the board to do the same thing also over here to get together, So again, I believe that, the repercussions of this are really more greater than what we're initially seeing. I mean, we've got to give the VCB, I believe, the tools to succeed. We do see a great occupancy in the 3 months to the season. I mean, obviously, there's been a great, but the rest of the year, we're struggling. Right now, you know, we're like 30, 40% with a very low rate. In comparison, I was in Orlando 2 weeks ago. They've got twice the rate. They're going 100% all the time. So we really do need to, I believe, focus on marketing, focus on giving our staff and our members the funds that they need to succeed and excel.
Thank you very much for your comments. Sharon? I think that takes care of that whole side, right? Then we'll get Ms. Black from the Alliance afterwards.
I'm Sharon McAllister. I'm the director of Art Fest Fort Myers, Southwest Florida's largest weekend event. I'm here to thank you, obviously, for your support of the Art Festival, but more than that, the vision and commitment that you have to supporting art and culture and events and all those things that make our county a rich destination. So I know as you go into other decisions that it's important that those things continue to stay part of what you do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Black?
I feel like my talk would be much more effective if I had the mango staff or a big boa. She might. I thought about taking it off. My name is Lydia, thank you, Roger. My name is Lydia Black, and I have the pleasure of serving the Lee County Alliance for the Arts as Executive Director, and I'm here today to say thank you so much for your service, both at the city, the county, the attraction, the hoteliers, all the work that you do to make this place a great place to live, work, play, and visit. So thank you very much for your time and dedication. I'm here today, one, to echo Sharon's words, to say thank you for continuing to recognize arts and culture as an add-on and benefit, as creating Southwest Florida a cultural destination, as a place to enhance our lives of the children and the folks who live here, but also engaging people's stay, making sure folks are staying longer, making sure folks like the Edison Ford Winter Estates, the Imaginarium, folks out at Big Arts in Sanibel and Bonita Springs who have seen record-breaking seasons are part of the discussions about how we further the marketing ventures of Southwest Florida and Lee County specifically. So we wanted to let you know at the Alliance for the Arts, we are embarking upon our next economic impact study. So we will begin collecting numbers in October and all through 2016 to talk about what is the return on investment for the arts. So we continue to urge you to continue to fund the arts and attractions. We thank you for your vision, for your leadership, and recognize that the arts and culture play an important role in bringing cultural visitors here and, again, creating a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you.
Good morning, Matt Johnson with the Harborside Events Center. I've got a couple of hats to wear today. The first one is to echo the thanks for the continued support of arts and culture through your grants and marketing with the museums, but also the convention center. And second, to share a little good news. We just completed our 66th annual Florida Attractions Association conference, and with the help of the TDC, we welcomed over 400 of our attractions colleagues to Southwest Florida. And I tell you, the result was fantastic. We have 400 new ambassadors around the state talking about our wonderful destination, our wonderful hotels, Sanibel Harbor for hosting us, the South Seas for the wonderful party, the Edison Estates for hosting us one night. It was a great event. The TDC support was wonderful, and I thank you for that. Visit Florida gave a wonderful presentation about the 100 million visitors that they're going to be welcoming to Florida. And I'd also like to echo the statements that it's important that our marketing efforts continue to get our piece of those 100 million visitors next year. So thank you.
Who else would like to speak under public to be heard? All right, I don't see any. So we'll go ahead and move on to municipalities to be heard at this time. Are there any municipalities to be heard? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the report of the Executive Director, Ms. Pike.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Very quickly, let's run through the bed tax collection report. For April 2015, as compared to April of 2014, we see a 9.5% increase in preliminary collections, and when comparing the preliminary collections to the final collections for last year, it's a 9.2% increase. We always get a little bit after the fact, so that number doesn't become final until the end of the year. But another sound increase for April, especially kind of relevant because Easter was earlier this year. So, you know, you might have expected to see maybe a little bit of not a dip, but a little bit of a recedence in the increase, but no, a very strong increase for April. So I was very, very pleased when we received that number. The STAR report, you will see that occupancy, ADR, RevPAR, room revenue, slight increase in available rooms and rooms sold, all at an increase, of course. This is the first month this year that I've seen a pretty small growth in ADR, again, I think related to when Easter fell. But I've cautioned you about that for 4.5 years. I guess I'll keep cautioning you about that. But as you look at the calendar year to date, you will see we have done very well on both occupancy growth and ADR growth. Occupancy growth of 5.1% and ADR growth of 10.2%. If I remember correctly, when we had STAR in December, they thought we'd have about a 5% growth in occupancy. So we're pretty much staying right on track for that occupancy growth. I think our ADR growth is actually a little higher than they expected, but of course we have a few months for that to moderate. We'll keep an eye on it, but it is a very good sign that we're right on track. Airport traffic also up. Great news for the community. 4.3% increase there. April had 902,669 passengers implaned and deplaned. Before I forget, this is the next most important thing I'm supposed to tell you, is we have a couple of new interns, and I always forget to announce the new staff. So will Caitlin and Daniel stand up? So Caitlin and Daniel, both are students at FGCU. Caitlin Bauman is a senior pursuing a degree in resort and hospitality management with an events concentration. And Daniel Benson is a junior earning a marketing degree at FGCU. Terrific young people that have joined our team. I love their smiling faces and their positive attitudes. They've really been a great asset. For those of you who are going to be engaged with us on Island Hoppers and several other projects, you're probably already talking to them. So welcome them when they come into your business. They are here to learn all that you have to offer, and we're going to try to enlighten them to the process on this end. But we're really pleased to have them with us.
Very good choice. Go Eagles.
That's right. We love our Eagles. And with that, sir,
All right.
I suggest we go on to the new business.
Very good. Let's go on to the new business. And the first portion under new business is to formalize our fiscal year 2015-16 events marketing funding request. Tam, can you just give us a brief introduction on what we're talking about here and what action you need from us?
Sure. This is, I would love to defer to Pam because she led the committee that reviewed it, but this is annual process by which we review requests for events marketing. I will remind you that the events have to be 2 days. We're trying to encourage hotel stays in these events. And of course, as the focus is on most of our marketing dollars, these are off-season events. So if you don't mind, I'd love to turn it over to Pam.
Excellent. Go for it.
Thank you. Once again, Nancy McVeigh did a fabulous job organizing all the applicants and all the applications, and it was wonderful. It's such a pleasure to work with you, Nancy. Thank you so much. You make our job so much easier. Actually, the applications were excellent this year. Every single one was an allowable function. The applications were organized and well done, and many of the applicants actually worked with VCB staff on some of the marketing, which was a really, really nice change this year, that they're utilizing that help. We had a great meeting. It was probably one of our fastest ever. It was because everything was so organized and so well done. And what we did was we actually did 2 allocations. The applications were so strong that we were hopeful that we could fund a little bit more than we normally do. Our funding allocation is $150,000, and we did one allocation where it was 149,000, and then a second allocation that we really wanted to pursue, and that was $167,000. VCB staff was able, Tamara was able to change some funding around out of some of the other marketing dollars. That won't affect any other events, just simply the restaurant week, which they're changing some focus on that, so that there is the $167,000 that we can allocate if the board decides to do that. So our proposal from the committee is that we allocate the $167,000 in the funding requests to those applicants.
Excellent. Board members, any questions on the events marketing funding recommendations or discussion? Sure, Mr. Forte.
Well, if that's a motion, ma'am, I'll second it. But
was that a motion, Ms. Cronin?
Yes, it is.
All right, motion from Ms. Cronin and a second from Mr. Forte. Go ahead.
I'd like to follow up, and I remember at one point, our events almost went down the tubes to nothing, and we didn't know what we were going to do it, but it's had life breathed into it, and it's coming along nicely now. And I'm not so sure that we shouldn't consider increasing that amount of $150,000 that we're doing, maybe upping it another 50. I'm looking at, we've got a request this year for, the request for $215,000. And it gets harder and harder, and I think the other people who sit on the committee will agree, it gets harder and harder when you're trying to cut people when you know some of their programs are really good. We've got another $7.5 million this year that we didn't expect. We're going to get another $1.5 million next year on the estimates on our budget. We can easily afford to increase this allocation from 150 to 200, so this would recommend that the TDC consider this. And I realize the budget's in already for this year, but in the next budget cycle, perhaps we should look at this and look at the attractions as well. Maybe time to change those numbers.
Mayor Ruane, did you have other comments?
Sure. I agree with Renee. I didn't have the opportunity this time to sit on the committee. We had another meeting. But having done that, we've looked at this, and I think it's our job to continue to use resources available. We've had great growth as we continue to invest in this. We had a conversation not long ago about sand sculpting, and we looked at that and we kind of went in a different direction because of the path we're on. And I think it's really important for us to continue to use the resources. I couldn't agree with Renee more. We've had uptick in revenue and certainly an opportunity. Understand that maybe some of the projects may not have met, but in the same token, if we have the money, I think it's our job to continue to try to grow this economy for local tourism. So I would agree.
Okay. So, any further discussion, board members? Wanted to ask a question. So the request, Mr. Forte, is to look at the $50,000 for next fiscal year's budget then, or?
I understand that the budget's already in for this year.
Well, yeah, the committee's already met.
If I may, if you don't mind, just adding a little bit. We allocated a few more dollars for events, but if you'll remember, that was to develop Songwriters Festival and also Restaurant Week. So that line item is a higher line item than the $150. It's a $250,000 line item. When you look through the budget, you'll see it. I just want to remind you of that. We did put some extra dollars there. We didn't put it specifically for the events process because we knew we were going to, have some expenses, incur some opportunities to develop those bigger festivals. So I just want to remind you of that, so that there's no confusion when we go to look at the budget and it looks different than that 150 number, you'll recall. And we, when you went through the process, we took a look at it because you had the 167, and we said, we think because of what the resistance we're seeing a little bit to Restaurant Week and how we're going to go in a little bit different direction there, that we could absolutely absorb that additional $17,000 in the funds that we had allocated for restaurant promotion and for the Songwriters Festival. So if you would like for us, when we go through the FY17 budget process, to look at increasing that, I'll be honest with you, we held the budget flat, so, I probably would have made the same recommendation if we'd had that discussion. In fact, we were talking about the same thing, not to jump ahead, but on the attraction side. And when we get there, I'll share a little bit of ideas we had for this year because, with some changes going on in Harborside, we said let's put a little bit more to the Southwest Florida Attractions Association a community foundation for them to hand out, because we feel like there is more demand. We are growing the number of attractions. We are growing the number of events. And I too remember when we couldn't hand the money out, we were wondering, should we kill events marketing? So, quite frankly, and, certainly to pat her on the back, but Nancy's done a great job of stimulating those requests and reminding people that the opportunity to seek funds from the TDC is there. And that's made an enormous difference to work the product development side into that as well. So with that, we're happy to take that direction for 16.
Very good. And Ms. DePasquale, you have
a couple thoughts. One is, I think that the 16,000 that we needed, or 17 for this year, I think it was, if it was available, that would not detriment the current budget, or wouldn't detriment marketing for the next budget. I think that was the thought process, because we didn't want it to take from something else that was important, like songwriters. So I think I have to disagree a little bit about, I agree with Renee that we need to add more money, and I think it's June. That budget doesn't get approved until, doesn't get in place until October. So I think the conversation is to increase the budget we're going to talk about today. The fact that we haven't it's not approved, it's still a working document, that we would add that into, so next year when we meet, we're actually talking with more money, not in 2 years from now, because we made the money last year, we have the money. This year, if we don't have it 2 years from now, then we talk about decreasing it again like we've done. I think, am I right that we have not approved any budget for next year, so I think that this is one of the pieces we can talk about now. That's why we're having the conversation later, because we think that there's great things happening and people are having creative ideas. Let's not stop that or stem that flow. Let's continue to work with that, and if we don't use it all next year, that'd be uncommon. But I think we should think about putting that extra money into the budget we're talking about today. And the other thing is, I expect that songwriters is going to need more. Quite frankly, we are already making it bigger this year than we did last year. So what does that mean for 2016? It's going to be huge, and that isn't going to happen with no more money in that pot. So I know there might be $250 in the line item and $150 goes to this, but I think we need to really look at that whole piece before we move forward and confirm or deny any budget, right? That's my thought.
Good point. Other comments, board members?
Motion we have on the floor now is to...
The motion we have on the floor right now would be to
just approve this.
Approve the recommendations, right?
Would you suggest we make another motion after that to close the budget? Would that be the right procedure?
You could ask the motion maker to amend her motion as discussed.
Hey, you. I think that those are like two really different issues. That we do need to approve the 167, which is over the 150 that we have. But since we are doing budget today, I think that that's probably I'm really glad you brought it up now, but I think that's probably the place where we need to increase that, because we need to talk about that and songwriter at the same time. And this is, just so if it's okay with you, I'd like to just go ahead and make this motion that we pass the 167, and then if we want to follow it right up with another one. But I think they're two separate things, because it's just 17,000 this year, and that's not really the right number, I don't think, going forward.
Just a point of clarification, I'm confused. We're talking about this budget for 15-16 fiscal year. So again, that has not been formally approved. So if we approve this $167,000, then we could go ahead and secondly make a motion to allocate additional, or make the recommendation to allocate additional money after that. Is that what we're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Excellent. Okay. Any other?
That's the motion. I'll second the motion.
Well, we've got a motion and a second already.
Okay.
And then a new motion would have to take place after that.
Right. Now, probably we'll talk about, if we're going to talk about increases, then let's talk about it during item C, the actual fiscal year 16 proposed budget report. Tam, is that how you'd recommend going forward?
Makes sense.
All right. So that's when we'll talk about whether or not we want to make recommendations on increasing the actual line item. Okay. So we have a motion and a second on approving the recommendations that the committee has come up with for fiscal year 15-16 on events marketing funding. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Are there any objections? No objection. The motion carries unanimously. Okay. Let's move on to item B, which is the formalizing the fiscal year 2015-2016 attractions marketing funding request. And Tam, again, if you can just give us a brief introduction.
Sure, absolutely. So this line item is arts and attractions marketing is $350,000. That was increased $50,000 in the last budget year. We maintain that in our proposal for 16 as well. And because the Harborside Event Center is going to be in the process of being renovated, had a conversation with Matt Johnson and thought we might have a little bit less need for marketing for Harborside, so we could allocate what we didn't use there over to the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, so we could have a larger pot for that fund. So it's just a $25,000 shift. So the Southwest Florida Community Foundation request is $275,000. The Edison Ford Winter Estate request is $50,000, and then the Fort Myers Conference and Convention Council request is $25,000. And again, this is a 1 year, knowing what's going on, anticipating the renovations to Harborside. They're not going to be attending as many shows to promote booking business into it because they know they're going to be in the process of renovating. Not to take anything away from future efforts, just for this current year coming up, what we anticipate happening. You guys know these programs. You've heard from the folks. They did all stand up and speak in public to be heard, but if you have any questions for them or any specific questions about the projects, either Nancy or the recipients are happy to speak to it.
All right, so we'll open the floor for discussion or questions. Board members, any discussion or question? Ms. Wall.
Just to clarify, so the $25,000 for Harborside will now go to Fort Myers Conference and Convention? It was 50, wasn't it?
It was 50. That's what I just said, because they're going to be renovating.
About that, okay.
They are anticipating that they won't be marketing as much in FY16 as they would because of the renovation. So my recommendation was that we shift that $25,000 over into the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, allowing that pot, which there's a lot of different entities that receive funds through it, to have a little bit more money to hand out in the current year, so that we're really using those resources that we allocated for arts and attractions to arts and attractions.
Okay.
Make that motion.
I have a motion by Mayor Wayne and a second by Mr. Afforded. Any further discussion or questions?
Just that this budget, too, also shows a flat from 1 year to the next. So there's no increases in this budget from last year to this year.
That's correct.
Overall. Correct?
Ms. Pygott says that is correct. Okay, very good. Any further questions or discussion? No? All right, if there's no further discussion, then I'll call the question. Are there any objections? No objection, motion carries unanimously. Okay, very good. So now we're on to item C, which is the fiscal year 16 proposed budget report. And Ms. Pygott, I'd like to ask you to introduce the item.
Sure. Before you, and hopefully a week ago, you received a copy of this report. I think it's done in a concise way, but it still takes a little bit of time to digest the report. A quick overview of the budgets. You have the VCB operating budget. You have the arts and attractions marketing budget. You have the beach and shoreline capital planning budget. That's essentially the operating side of running the beach and shoreline program. And then also included, and I would certainly ask Jeff Milkey to speak to the sports marketing budget, but we include the sports marketing budget in there for you as well. You will see that the VCB operations budget is in essence flat. It's about a 1.3% increase at the direction of county administration, with direction, of course, from the Board of County Commissioners. We were asked to submit a continuation budget. That budget, the only increases are reflecting cost of business increases. As an example, our travel expenses, like we're seeing our hotel rates up a bit here, we're seeing that same experience in hotel rates and airfares when we travel, so you'll see that line increases. We held it pretty tight in all areas, and the only really additional thing is we are looking at some upgrades to the information booths at the airport and we've allocated $75,000 to begin looking at what we're going to do there. That will not cover the expense of doing 5 booths. I want to be clear. We're going to get started with that project, and we wanted to allocate some dollars this year for that. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, Mr. DeGillet.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd like to take just a moment and address this issue of the what's being labeled a reduction in spending. So let me just give a little, try to create a little context this morning for this conversation. Last year, when Lee County really began to stabilize financially, during those budget workshops, the board made a policy decision and said that we would, going forward, accept service levels as they were last year, as the minimum service levels that would be acceptable countywide for all of the departments, whether it was the VCB or utilities or parks, all of them. And so they would fund those service levels from one year to the next without considering any increases in programs, in levels of service, number of personnel, in those kinds of things. So if we all agreed that those service levels were adequate for Lee County, then it made constructing the budget from one year to the next pretty easy, because the only cost increases would likely be those over which we had no control, like insurances, cost of fuel, and things that you get the idea. There's a lot of them, but you kind of get the idea of the concept. Once we started doing that, any increases in spending for programs, enhancing service levels, it became very obvious that what those increases were for, and we would take those up under separate conversations during the budget workshops. For example, last year, we, at the end of budgeting the continuation budget, there was about $13 million in excess revenue that was available. And so the board decided to spend $9 million of that on capital maintenance projects, things that you'd roughly consider to be one-time costs, not increases in operations, new programs that would have the impact of increasing the budget from one year to the next based on operating costs. These were just capital maintenance projects that were put off like everyone else did during the recession. All governments did, from the federal level all the way down to the local level. They also adopted a reserve policy. Last year at the end of the season, we had about $92 million in reserves, but the board, and that was about 28% of the general fund was that amount of money. But the board said, we really think that 15% or 20% is really more prudent, and that's about $72 million. So, the difference between the 72 and the 90-some million, that also became available for spending on projects, capital projects in particular, that were really long overdue. So in this case, the entire organization this year, the budget increase for the general fund is going to be just a touch over 3%. And as you see, TAM has held operating costs to 1.3%, with an overall increase of 2.6%. I think the issue, as I understand it for everyone, is the $1.4 million that was allocated mid-year for a specific marketing effort. Tam, is that an accurate depiction?
Yes.
Okay, and I think people made the assumption that that would just become part of the continuation budget. So the 15-16 budget would reflect $1.5 million increase in the marketing program. What we've asked the board to do is to sit in a workshop when we get back from the summer break. It'll probably be around the September-October timeframe, and give them a chance to take a look at the distribution of the bed tax dollars within the 3 categories. Nobody's making a grab for it. Nobody's looking to take money, redistribute it for one purpose or another. It is simply, it's the right thing to do. I'll give you an example. In the category for sports venues, debt service, for example, when the JetBlue project was financed, it was pretty thin. there was some question about whether or not there were going to be enough dollars to actually make debt service, on that project. Well, as the economy recovered and became a little stronger, that category probably has more money there than it needs. We even with the expansion of sports tourism efforts, there's probably a little more in there than is required. Then the reserves right now at the end of are projected at the end of this year, I think, to be around $11 million. The question is that the right number of dollars to have in reserve? In reserve for what purpose? This county commission, the 5 elected folks that are seated today, as a group, have never had a chance to take a look at the distribution of those dollars by category and see if that's something they agree with. Nobody has suggested there's going to be a change in the percent distribution, but they really need to have the opportunity to look at it so that we can show them a little bit of the history. What's been the collection rate over time, what's been the distribution percentages over time, and when they changed, why did they change? I think I understand that in 2005 was the last review, and the change was made in order to accommodate the financing for the JetBlue project. Is that?
I think it was 2009, but
2009? Yeah, thank you. So was probably the right thing to do given the circumstances at the time, but is that still the correct way to distribute the money? Nobody's suggesting we take it from marketing and put it somewhere else, and in fact, the $1.4 million that it seems to be the subject of so much concern, that remains in the marketing category. It can't go anywhere else. I mean, the board would have to make that specific decision and change the allocations. So that money's not going anywhere. It's just, it'll be held right there in the marketing, in that marketing fund. But after the board has a chance to really take a look at this and weigh in, then we'll see how that turns out. But there's no effort on anyone's part that I'm aware of, and I've received no instructions from any one board member or the board collectively to promote one change or another. This is just simply the way we conduct business these days. We used to be an organization that wasn't terribly disciplined about the way we spent money. And you all in your private lives know how that goes. You can't, you just can't spend money on everything that everyone wants, but there was a lot of that going on in Lee County. And with the recession and a 52% loss of property values countywide, we lost 52% of the general fund dollars to work with. We had to hit a reset button. So today, the organization's financially stable. We have revenues to work with. We're going to have capital dollars to spend on some of the infrastructure projects, transportation in particular, that I think you all would be pretty interested in. And we're much more a data-driven decision-making organization than we have been in the past. So this budget reflects nothing more than a conservative philosophy and making spending decisions that are based on data and a review by the guys who are responsible for making those policies.
Okay, thanks, Mr. DeGillet. Board members, any questions or discussion?
Roger.
Mr. Ruane, Mayor Ruane.
I appreciate your comments, and certainly your process that you've identified is exactly what you articulated. A couple things. One, I know you're trying to identify one-time expenses, and that's kind of it. The 1.4, as I understand from this board, is a recognition that we have increased revenue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this board is advocating that that's going to now be built into a new level, okay? And I appreciate that, having gone through the same crisis you have the last 8 years, okay?
Right.
It's not been easy, by no means. But however, I think whether it's that or whether it's a conversation about marketing and events, it's looking at continuing to reinvest. And almost like you say, one time, whether you're doing it on salaries, listen to those discussions, automobiles, listen to those discussions. So this is kind of the same, the 1.4, I believe, and anyone on the board tell me differently, it's kind of in that vein. I mean, I don't think that anyone's advocating that. And the discussion that happened earlier was really more about, do we reinvest? Again, do we do something? And Colleen, I think, hit the nail on the head. The part we went through today was, let's pass the projects, and then we have some money left over, what do we do? Because I think where you went, and it's great that you have a policy decision to say, reserves, we need X to run this place. And we have money left over. What's the best utilization? And I applaud, the direction you're all going in, the discussions and the vetting, because that hasn't taken place in a long time. So having said all that, I just for clarity, I just wanted to put that, I think, and make sure we were 100% on board in what you were saying. But, more importantly, I just think, I don't think the board was advocating either increase was just built in. To your point, one-time charges.
Yeah.
One-time event.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Webb, go ahead.
Just a couple of things. I looked at the budgets and everything, understood the percentages. I know we've increased sports development by 14, almost 15%, which is great. I think that's apropos. I still don't quite understand why we would want to not increase proportionately with the revenue that's coming in, the marketing dollars, and of course the attractions marketing. I mean, we need to continue to reinvest. I think people have pretty articulately stated that it's important that we keep that our foot on the pedal and keep making sure that this car is running correctly. And I don't know, I still don't quite understand why we treat the VCB and the attractions marketing budgets as something different than what it is. Because what it is truly is the economic engine that drives this community. And the only real economic engine that drives this community. So I don't know, I don't quite buy into or understand why we would make this a continuation budget at all. It doesn't make sense to me from a business logical standpoint. I mean, you'll go back to the basic thing, the ABCs of business, always be closing. And that's what the VCB and attractions marketing is doing, is we've got to constantly keep our foot on the pedal and make sure we're getting into the market. And I think that we need to, at some point, decide we need to be the world-class destination so that when people think of beaches, they don't think of Miami or Redondo or Fort Lauderdale. They think of Sanibel, Captiva, and Fort Myers Beach, and Bonita, the beaches of Bonitas and so forth. So I think that we need to really say to ourselves, this is our hometown company. This is our economic engine, and we need to continue to invest when we have this money, because in 2 years, if the prognosticators are correct and the hotel people in the world are correct, you're going to see another downturn, And if we don't invest when we have the money now, we won't be able to keep that foot on the pedal. Those concern me. The other issues concern me too, again, are, and I know we have to keep salary levels and all this kind of stuff flat, but, we just lost a great, individual through the VCB because another destination can pay a lot more. If we don't protect our assets, which are our people who are doing the on-the-ground, road warrior kind of work, then we're going to be in trouble as well. So I wish we'd stop looking at this as kind of a governmental thing and look more of it as a business and an economic engine and start really reinvesting instead of holding back. That's my concern.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Giesecke.
Just quick, Jeff, I don't think I disagreed with much of any what you said, and no one is suggesting that that you take your foot off the pedal and not invest these dollars. I mean, these are restricted funds. They can only by law be used for this purpose. So if we're not going to spend them, then reduce the rate.
Well, by the laws we see today, which could be changed.
Well, it could, but that's not for us to decide in this budgeting process. But the point is that they are kind of a single-purpose revenue source, and nobody is suggesting that the dollars shouldn't be spent pretty much the way you've suggested. It is just is the allocation by percent in each of the categories, is it the correct one to make optimal use of the dollars? That's the only reason for the exercise.
I appreciate your comments, and I think that certainly exercises like that should happen, and they should start, to me personally, at the TDC level, not necessarily because we're your advisors, right, to this whole economic engine. But my concern is, so we don't look at this allocation until September. Well, that's a lot of time has gone by, and in the business world, things happen like that. So right now, we've got this budget that we should start buying and start looking at stuff. If we wait until September to reallocate the money and start looking at ways to fund things, those opportunities are gone. This is not something we can just kind of wait back and play with. We've got to make decisions today for tomorrow.
And again, please don't misunderstand. That's not what's going to happen. There's plenty of money to spend for all the programs that you all anticipate right now.
Well, can we start forecasting for those programs to spend now, assuming we're going to get that money?
I think Tam's probably way ahead of the game on those kinds of issues.
Want to weigh in? Go ahead, Ms. Feige.
I think, obviously, we will have a plan for the budget as it exists and potential additions to the budget. I think you're a little bit right in the sense that, in fairness, we're planning on rolling out our co-op marketing program in July. And if that decision isn't made, obviously the plan we roll out will be based on what we anticipate at this point in time.
Until September.
But in that sense, you're a little bit right. But again, if we know, when we know that we'll have additional opportunity, we will roll that into the plan. Absolutely. We'll have a contingency, as we always do.
And I just want to point out, before I weigh in on any of this, I want to make sure we give everybody a chance to discuss. And Mr. Lappy, let's hear from you first. You had a
First of
comment.
all, Roger, I was relieved to hear you say, of course, like you say, it's state mandated that those monies have to stay in the VCB, and we are an advisory board, and we kind of have boots on the ground with the hotelers that are represented here and all that. To chime in, on what Jeff said, in a timing issue, remember that when they put together a co-op marketing plan, it saves money for all of us here in this room who want to participate. If that plan gets larger, then there's more participation, which expands everybody's chance to make that marketing budget larger. And I think where Jeff was going, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but it looks like the timing issue. She's got to go out and put together this program, the cooperative program that starts in July, and is restricted somewhat by a flatline budget, then we might be missing opportunities
Absolutely.
that will not only help us as business people, because we have the leverage of the VCB to join in on those ads. And I think that's the timing issue. As far as keeping the foot on the accelerator, we want to do that, because certainly if you let a car pass you by and go by, it takes a lot more energy to go by it. So I think where Jeff was going with that is, we have this extra money there. We know it's coming in. The timing issue to wait for the commissioners to kind of put their blessing on it is one thing. But I do agree that they need to look at it. But I think they also need to listen to people with boots on the ground who do this day to day.
And please understand, be certain that will happen. There will be that opportunity. Any decision will not be made, kind of in the dark.
Again, and I like to think it's a timing issue. Is what I think some of Jeff's concerns and mine as well. So, but anyways.
Thank you.
We got a lot of discussion. Colleen, and then let's go with Ms. Myers and then Mayor Ruane.
Having been here as part of the group that was here when we added the pennies way back when, so nobody's probably surprised that I have a list of things I think I need to say today. Right? Andrea just shakes her head at me. I do think that there's two topics of conversation today. One has to do with the incoming budget as we move forward, and one has to do with the allocation of bed tax. I will jump on that soapbox when we're ready for that. I do, kudos to Roger for the work you have done since you came in. Like, nobody is disappointed about where we're going as a county, and the county commission and the way you guys work together, that's amazing. And the fact that we are it. Lee County is becoming the place to be, the place to come. As somebody who runs the local chamber, and the way we can talk about the business and the business model and the way we operate, it's so easy to do now because we're successful. We have been here. And I get, in the past, this continuation budget and the things you had to put in place to get us where we are now, it made sense that we could not offer increases to the staff. We didn't like it then. We didn't like the decrease in spend that was available because we weren't generating the money. We didn't have the money to spend. Those times are over. We are not a general fund entity, or the VCB, I should say we. The VCB is not funded by the general fund. It is funded by the money that they self-generate for themselves based on our bed tax. So I feel that now that the bed tax increase is available for us to use, this is the time to use it. If this plan changes and there's a change in an allocation of the bed tax later, that's okay. But this budget should reflect the fact that we used to do, and I may not have all the legal terms right, but it was not, we could spend 95% of the estimated revenue. We always had to leave 5 just in case. So, and we're no way near that. We're operating on last year's. That's not the way we should be doing business. We are competing with San Francisco and Key West and Europe and Brazil. We compete with the big boys because we've put ourselves on that platform. It is not a good business model to not take the money as we had it. Because when we didn't, we were scraping and putting things together. we have it, we need to use it, because it's a short period of time. The hotel business is cyclical. 5 years from now, we won't be having this conversation, but we will have put ourselves in place because we're using the funds now that we will get through those tough times again, 15 years, 20 years. This will continue long past this TDC's time. So I think we need to really look at the money that we are going to put together in next year's budget, and I think we need to use it. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand there's a much bigger picture than our narrow little field, but we are the economic engine here. We are one of the biggest ones. We need to use the resources that are here for us. We've had 25% increase in 2 years. The business model would call for us to reinvest in ourselves, put that money back out there. I mean, you talked about it yourself. You just took money for capital projects that you wouldn't have done in the past and you won't be able to do again, $9 million. That's great. No doubt we live here. We know we needed those things done because we live here. We're not just tourists. But that same theory applies to the fact that we've got the funds that was generated by business tax or by bed tax, and it's time to use those things. And I think we need to look at our events marketing. All the things that are happening, the powerhouses like Lydia Black and what we have going on at the Edison Estates and the Imaginarium and Matt's running of those projects and songwriters. I really believe that there's opportunities to we need to be planning for significant money into those projects because we are bigger than the sports piece. We need those arts and cultural pieces. This is the time to use it while we have it. And I just, let me make sure I got all my notes in here because you guys won't let me talk again, I know.
I know the chairman, I'll put in a good word for you.
Yeah. The last thing saying is that when we went, there was a lot of conversation when we added those 2 pennies. It got a little chippy in here, to use a hockey word. It got chippy in here, but we went to the county commissioners because we knew where the bed tax would be allocated and what those percentages would mean when we talked about where the pennies would go. So I think, we supported those things based on where we thought the level of income would be. So to change that now, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I don't dispute the fact we need to look at things because I like to do that too, break down the numbers. And so that piece of looking at the allocation of bed tax, but currently I feel strongly that we should be using more money. It's not the 1.4 piece, though I disagree with you. I think that was our money. We should get it back. But I think that it should be beyond the 1 point. It needs to be based on the way we've been doing business because the money's sitting there.
Okay, let's go with Ms. Myers.
Well, I totally agree with what Colleen said and a couple of the points she made. That's what I was going to do. But I was wondering, Roger, we haven't had a workshop with the Board of County Commissioners for a long time. And maybe, maybe it's time that we do that. And maybe it's time that we do that, like, maybe before September, before they start looking, so they can hear the boots on the ground and the people that are the experts in this. I don't know if that's possible, but you think it is, maybe?
The board's last meeting for the summer is September 16, which is Tuesday. And so they'll be finished with their regular business until the end of September. I'm sorry,
June.
until the end of July. I can't, if the first meeting after the break is the first week or
August
second week in
4th.
August.
It's the first week of
August 4th. So I don't know if there's time for that. But again, I want to emphasize it. No one's advocating taking dollars away or no one's advocating for reduced spending in marketing and promotions. No one's doing that. In fact, I wouldn't be, at all surprised to see that, that allocation go up. I mean, that wouldn't be at all surprising. But, I think the board's going to want to hear from you. I can't imagine otherwise. They're not going to rely on just staff reports and a conversation between the board and us to make these decisions. But, the board will, I'm sure the chair is going to have a conversation with his colleagues. And,
At a publicly noticed advertised meeting under sunshine. Yes.
Every morning they have coffee in my office with the door closed. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. I know.
Oh, you're done talking.
Sorry, Andrea.
Can we at least ask, Commissioner? Could we at least ask?
Yeah, and I'm kind of listening and compiling everything, and I want to give a response here at the end. Mayor Ruane and Mr. Affordit wanted to weigh in a couple more times or one more time here.
Sure. I think it's important, and I understand Colleen having sat here the last 6 years, I watched some reallocations. So there's always an anxiety. I can recall when Beach and Shoreline got
Sure.
3.3%. So you understand that. I think to Jeff's point and Colleen's point, the timing is now, because we don't meet again until August 13th. You have a third review of your budget, August 18th. So if we have some deliberation we'd like to do, we'd like to be part of that. And whether you look at all parts, I applaud the conversation that Jeff had about operating expenses and personnel. Your efforts, the path you're having the discussion, is one, a CIP increase for people, and a merit. Merits are important today because obviously we're competing. So I like the fact that you're having that discussion. I think it's really warranted. So when we look at an operating budget, okay, and we look at the budget we have in front of us, it's 4.6% increase. Again, consistent with what I heard you say. But you go down the entire product and you do that. The anxiety is really marketing, do it now. Again, you have an August workshop. So whatever we can do as a board, since we don't get together in July, we need to weigh in now. I guess the last part, and again, one other consideration, because you did it at the general fund level, is we have $11.7 million in reserves.
Right.
And the discussion is to employ those reserves to the best of our ability, to continue to drive a product so we have the greatest economic recovery. And it's been great, but we don't want to be complacent. So maybe part of the discussion for consideration, the Board of County Commissioners, is what's adequate reserves in other, and I understand this, but what can we use, what do we need, and can we use other resources or decrease that like you did with the general fund, bring down your restricted, make it restricted 72 million, we have 11.7, maybe it's 8, maybe it's not.
Sure.
And at least a discussion to say, how do we reinvest this? And more importantly, can we actually go and exceed the increases we've had so we can compete with others? Just
I agree. How's that?
Mr. Fordick?
Well, I concur with about everything that's been said here. And I was sitting here trying to put my finger on the problem, and I think it's pretty simple. The discussion we're having here probably should have taken place a while back, before our budget ever went to the Board of County Commissioners. So when the Board of County Commissioners sat there and started reviewing our budget, it has, and here's what the TDC recommends with this budget. Tamara's people put the budget together. If we would have had this thorough conversation earlier, she could have adjusted that budget before it went to the county commissioners. Now it's already there, and we're trying to catch up is part of our problem. I think, Jeff, you made the point, yeah, that should have started here. So even if it was a separate meeting you had to have prior to that budget going to the county commissioners is something for the future we might want to do. So they have a pack and say, this is our budget, this is the TDC recommendations. That way the Board of County Commissioners has that, and you have that. Not going back trying to reallocate this stuff.
Okay, and I'll take responsibility for that timing issue. You know, given the condition that we were in, up until just this last year, we've been very methodically, you know, almost working department by department to improve the operation. And because this operation was not in trouble, it was well funded, it's been well managed, and with the help of the TDC, it's, you know, everybody knows it's been a great program. There really wasn't a reason to get to it just yet. So the timing in this case would be, you know, I'll take responsibility for that. But I also think it's something that, you know, won't become a crisis issue for you. We can manage through that.
Mr. Wachulis, you had a question?
Well,
or comment?
I guess I echo Colleen and Tony and Jeff's comments. I mean, right now it seems like we're tails wagging the dog. So the delay, because you heard a few hotels get up here, they got to spend their money and do their budgets for co-op advertising. If we're not allocating that 1.4, they're not going to know to budget for to fuel that pedal even more. I think it's just a bad business delaying the budget.
Any further discussion or questions, Ms. DePesco? Okay.
But I did have one question. On the budget for Jeff, there's a $40,000, or is that a one-time move fee, or is that you're going to pay $40,000 to use the space?
Name for the record.
Good morning, Board. Jeff Milkey, Lee County Sports Development. That is a continuation intergovernmental service charges for cleaning, for essentially renting space.
Do we know what we paid last year when you were at the stadium?
We didn't pay anything at the stadium.
They're both county facilities?
There are services being offered to that building, this building here, that we didn't have at the other facilities, such as there's a lot more IT equipment there. There's conference rooms for us to use for meetings. There are cleaning services. You know, we've got people coming through cleaning the facility that are under contract. Typically, you know, and we cleaned our own office, so.
Mr. Just, Colleen, this is government accounting, which is awful.
Well, that's why I wasn't sure if it was a one-time because we moved their office into this office, and I would expect there to be a big cost with that, or is
Well,
this something we would pay?
What we're just referring to is called intergovernmental service fees, and it's required by law that we have a chart of fees and costs, and that they be assigned this way to each department. So depending on where they're located and, you know, what portion of the, you know, the IT costs get allocated to which, you know, it's just, it's goofy government accounting.
And I think
but we have to do it.
I think to be fair, when we were at City of Palms, Parks and Recreation was probably absorbing some IGS charges that should have been on us.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I wanted to
May I just say one
Sure.
last thing? I'm sorry. Would it not be apropos, in light of all these discussions, to take a look and present an additional optional budget? I mean, in actually FYI 14, we took in $33.3 million. You know, estimated for this year is $37 million. Proposed for next year is $38.8. In business, we budget off of revenue. You know, if you were to do that in fiscal year 14, and you took that 95% thing minus that 5% of it, our marketing portion would have been $16.98. And this year, if we go off that revenue of $37 million, that portion at 95% would be $18.84. Would it not be appropriate, since we're not meeting in July, and are we meeting in August? I don't even know if we're meeting in August. Would it not be appropriate
August
to
13th.
see a additional budget that, hey, this is what we would love to see happen, in addition to what this budget is here, so that we can start creating that dialogue? I mean, I think that would be important, and that's a lot of extra cash we can do to market, for sports development, for attractions marketing, for BCB. It's a lot of extra money that we could do to start planning.
So like a proposed budget to revenue, to the revenue that's
Well,
actually
a budget that, yes, would reflect more the percentage of money that we would get in the real world.
And I think that's a good place
Is that
for,
possible?
yeah, I think, well, let's talk with our county manager about whether or not that's possible.
Chris, I don't know if that.
Do you want me to comment, or you?
Well, you're welcome to, but I know what I'm going to say.
Well, the only thing I would say to you was, if we had a different budget number, the line that would be different would be the advertising line, because where we would put the money would be in the marketing program. So all you're talking about is changing one line in the budget. Now, recognizing, and you understand this as well as I do, there's a marketing plan that goes with that marketing line. Has that marketing budget been planned out? We're in that process right now. This month and next month, we are planning that process to roll out to you the co-op plan on August 13th. So the only thing that changed, in my opinion, the only thing that would change would be that line.
A couple $1 million would certainly change the world.
Well,
So
Mr. Chair,
Sure, Mr. Desjardins.
I sure hope it takes more than a couple $1 million to change the world. But in any case, I'm just yeah, just horsing around a little bit, Jeff. Rather than propose an alternative budget, I think it'd be perfectly appropriate if you all wanted to take a vote and say you want to recommend to the county commission that during their budget deliberations they increase marketing by $1.5 million. And that, I think that makes the point. But as Tam says, they're still working on the plan. They're going to roll it out to you, you know, in the next couple of months. And so I understand your sense of angst. I truly do. I think the mayor did a good job of, you know, describing how that goes. Whenever these kinds of changes, it makes everybody nervous. Makes me nervous. But I think we can easily manage our way through this. Everything you said today is very well taken. You know, we don't have our minds made up about anything, and the board's going to take all kinds of input, you know, from you and others. And So I think that would be, if you'd like to do that, that's certainly appropriate.
Thank you for listening to our concern. I really
Yes, sir.
appreciate what
Thank you.
the Commissioner and the county manager did. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Does anybody wish to make that motion that Mr. DeGilet just outlined?
Just one other thing I just want to add in, which I think is important. You're having a discussion right now on merit. Does this budget actually have a merit? I know we lost a significant person here, and obviously we're investing in the product. It's our people, it's our advertising, it's all pieces. And the last part is, I still love to understand the $11.7 million reserve, because it's going to make an investment, and it makes sense to make an investment. So is it $1 million, $1.5 million?
When it comes to compensating employees, we've got a problem countywide with our pay structure. If there are individual employees in the professions that we so desperately want to keep, we can make those adjustments just with my signature. So it's not, it's not quite as onerous as some might think.
All right, so before we talk any further then about this, let me weigh in, because I've taken everything into consideration and listened to everybody very carefully. I think the one true message here is we do have to be able to compete with this budget, with this with the purpose that this revenue is collected for. It is for us to compete against other markets that are similar to ours, so that we can draw tourists here to help our off-season business, so that we don't see a lot of people close down their shops and go out of business during the summer, like we used to see, when I was a kid growing up here. I think it's very important that the Board of County Commissioners looks at the policy question of how do we budget this particular revenue. I think Roger's articulated very well the reasons why in the general fund budget we are now budgeting to expenses and not budgeting to revenues, because we want to compete as a county to have one of the lowest cost places for you to come locate your business in, and have one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family in Lee County. We want to keep your property taxes low and all of our other fees low, and so we're holding the line on expenses very well. With this specific revenue source, since it is restricted and has a specific purpose outlined, I think the board needs to take up the policy question of whether or not we do budget that in a different manner. And I think that certainly will be the policy question that we'll talk about at that workshop. I also think the board does need to discuss the $11.7 million in reserves, because that's a lot of money. I mean, when you're talking about an annual budget of $16 million and you've got $11.7 million in reserves, that's way more than 20% that we budget even at the general fund level. So I think we need to talk about the best ways to use that money. So I guess my question to Mr. DeGilet, and not to put you on the spot, but
why stop now?
Why stop now? would be one of the real things that I think has been the magic, if you will, for lack of a better term, to why we've had such successful budget sessions the last year and last 2 years, is that we've started it earlier. And we don't actually approve the budget until the second meeting in September. So we do have some time. I do realize we have the July recess. My question would be, could we talk with the other commissioners about getting this workshop in before we approve the final budget, so that maybe we could make those policy decisions going into this year's budget?
We have, I don't have the calendar with me, but we have, there might be two opportunities for workshops that we've not scheduled, but meeting times when we would normally do that. So I think there's time.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, truly that has been why your team has worked so well, and why the budgets have actually turned out so well the last couple of years, because you've allowed the commissioners to take up policy questions like this and make policy decisions and give you the appropriate direction then to craft a budget real well. So, I thank you all for your comments. I think they're actually very good comments. This was a great discussion. And does anybody have anything else they wish to add at this point? We would need some motions. One, to approve the proposed budget report, and then, if somebody wanted to make that motion to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that they add to the marketing budget, that's a possible motion that would need to be made as well. Okay, Mayor Ruane.
I'll make a motion to approve what's in front of us as a separate motion. I'll address the other. The second motion is that you consider a $1.5 million increase, along with looking at reserves at 11.7 and coming an adequate number, so you.
All right. Let's do one motion at a time then. So the first motion was to approve the fiscal year 16 proposed budget report that's in front of us. Do I have a second? A second from Mr. Affordit. Any further discussion on that? No? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. Are there any objections? No objection. Motion carries unanimously then. All right, and so let's have you state your second motion again.
Sure, I'd like to have an increase in marketing and how they want to allocate it, whether you want to look at some of the off-season shoulder programs, $1.5 million, and along with that, to look and come back and have the Board of County Commissioners look at reserves and try to set an adequate number. It's always a discussion we have here all the time. $11.7 million, to your point, Commissioner, is just an awful lot of money for this budget. That's my motion.
All right, so we have another motion. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Cronin down at the end. Any further discussion on that one, council members? Ms. DePiscua.
Quite frankly, one has nothing to do with the other.
Would,
Talking about the conversation most of us have had today is that we would be increasing marketing funds based on revenues brought in by bed tax from this fiscal year. And then we can look at, I mean, I'm not opposed to looking at what the reserves are about, but those are two completely separate.
I gladly will bifurcate it for you. I'll make a motion for, first motion to increase the marketing budget by $1.5 million.
so we have an amended motion to make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners that we add $1.5 million to the marketing budget in light of the tremendous success that we've had in bed tax collections this year. Do you amend your second? We have an amended second by Ms. Cronin. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, seeing none, then I'll call the question. Are there any objections? No objection. Motion carries unanimously.
I'll rephrase my other motion. The motion would be to have County Commission have a discussion consistent with their discussion with the general fund and appropriate reserves, and look at our $11.7 million and just have a discussion about what's adequate, what's not.
Yeah, and okay, so we have a motion then to have the County Commission.
Not seconding, I just have.
Okay, let's have a question from, second from Fran Myers.
Perhaps
Okay.
shouldn't we hold off on that?
And I think your point's more than valid. My only concern is the calendar. Again, if I'm correct, Roger, August 18 is your third and final review of the draft. And then your first hearing is September 3rd. So we're going to have one bite at the apple here.
May I suggest?
Sure, Mr. Desjardins.
The board's going to talk about reserves no matter how you vote today, which is not a bad thing. The discussion will likely be, is 11.5, is that the right number? And if not, then staff go to the TDC, get recommendations on what they think that ought to be. I mean, what's the, let's more clearly define the purpose for the reserves, what they would be used for in an emergency or whatever and what's the right number.
I guess what I'll do, considering Renee's comments, is just go with an amendment. It is really to, as this board, make a recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners, consistent with their other policy decisions, look at the $11.7 million and have a discussion and then bring it back to this board. And this board has an opportunity to look and deliberate and come back as a board that obviously and I advise with. That's my revised motion. Second, okay with that?
You revise your second or amend your second? Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Okay, great. Excellent. Any further discussion, council members, then, on that? I mean, truly, that is a great conversation that we need to have about the reserves, and looking forward to having that. Okay, if there's no further discussions, then I'll call the question on that. Are there any objections? No objection. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, Mayor Ruane. Any further discussion on the fiscal year 16 proposed budget report before we move on, then? All right. Let's hope not. Thank you. I'll second that, Mr. Fordet. There you go. All right. Thank you, folks. Actually, it was a very good discussion. We'll move on to the for council information. Ms. Pygott?
There are a few items in your packet, but we've had a long meeting, so I'm not going to belabor anything.
Okay, very good. We all have good reading material then for later. All right, we've come to TDC member items, and this is a special point in the meeting where I want to do a special recognition of a couple TDC members who this is their last meeting with us. So if I can have Mayor Ruane and Councilman Forrest Banks come over here. We have a special plaque in appreciation of your recognition for your outstanding contribution to the tourism industry and public service, and it's presented to you this 11th day of June. And it says you will be truly missed. And I got to tell you, it's been a pleasure working with both of you. And Mayor Ruane, let's have you first. If you'd like to share a few comments with us, and then Councilman Banks as well.
I'll make it real short. It's been 6 years, and certainly it's been, first and foremost, Tam and your staff have done a great job. I really appreciate all the preparation, the material we receive. It helps us really have these conversations. I did try this week to reach out to many of you individually to obviously thank you for just allowing me the opportunity to work with you all, got to know you all. Unfortunately, my life got a little busy this week, so I wasn't able to do so. But I like the discussion. I think this is essential, the discussion. But more importantly, this has really been an honor to see and be part of just a real turnaround. The Tourist Development Council and what we do for small businesses and tourism has just been amazing. So I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Mayor Ruane. And Councilman Banks.
See, when I came on, I knew zero about tourism. I'm an engineer. Most of my work is from a foot above the ground to 15 feet below, and I worked for resorts. But after that got done, I was gone and knew nothing about what they really did. And the first thing that happened when I came on is, as Tamara said, you need to go to the Governor's Convention on Tourism. And that ought to be a requirement of any new member, because I really didn't want to go, and I didn't think it'd be worthwhile. And it just blew my mind what tourism is to the state of Florida, to Lee County. And I became an immediate advocate, and been trying to do that ever since. And right after that, I went to a staff meeting just to see what everybody did and that kind of thing. And I was unbelievably impressed by one thing that happened in that staff meeting. Roger was there and he saw it, is that each staff member got up and said something. And everybody else in that room was beaming with pride about what that person was saying. And when their turn came up, it just worked that way throughout the entire meeting. And I ran a company, and I don't think I ever had a meeting where everybody was happy with what it was. And that just goes to show the type of leadership that Tamara provides, and she has great people around her, which is another good thing. And Fran has been real helpful to me, and it's been a great experience. And there are a lot more things I wanted to say. I do, I'm totally proud of the city of Fort Myers and Lee County, and just the fact that Christine and Sharon and Lydia and Matt were here today, it just demonstrates that we are a major part of the glue of tourism in the county, and we're proud of that. We're going to try to keep it that way. And I have one more suggestion, and then I'm done. I have a seat that I represent, or we share with Cape Coral and Bonita Springs, but we have a new city. And I don't think it costs much for a board member to be on the board. And I would recommend that you think about asking the commission to add another board member for those revolving seats so the city of Fort Myers and Cape Coral could share one, 2 years on, 2 years off, and Bonita and Estero could share one, because none of us need to be 6 years away from what this committee does. And I think that I would ask you to look into that. And with that, I've just had a great time. I've learned more doing this than probably most anything else I've ever done, and it's been a lot of fun and a great experience. And I thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you both for for your service to this council as well. And then let's go ahead then and kick off the rest of the member items. Mr. Lappy, do you have anything today?
Most, but good luck to Mango Mania. Thanks for the basket. Appreciate it.
Very good. Ms. DePasquale?
And then Kevin, I have to say thank you to you. I think you took it upon yourself to work with county government when it came time to look at funding for JetBlue Park and some of the things that we did with the swim, all those things that we've done. You actually kind of stepped out of the role of TDC and put your accounting hat on and really proved that we could make that happen. So, and of course your passion for water quality. So thank you for bringing those to us, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go last. Let me ask Mr. DeGillet, anything further you want to share? Fran, anything?
Hot sheet, and I would echo what Colleen just said to the mayor.
Very good. Mr. Affordit?
I would only say that today's session was excellent. We are chartered by the state to be the watchdog of the Treasury, and that's what we were doing today. And so I'd love to see when we really tear apart the budget and look at it, because that's what we're supposed to be doing instead of just rubber stamping something. So I'd say everybody, well done, and I was glad to see the participation.
Very good. Anything else to add?
That's enough. It's been 6 years. Thank you.
There you go. Mr. Webb?
I too also echo what Colleen says about Mayor Wayne, and also want to thank Forrest Banks, Councilman Banks, for being on the TDC. He's added a lot of insight as well. Coming up in June, of course, is your Lee County Hotel Association's luncheon, which I would be remiss not to tell you about. It's going to be at the Holiday Inn at Alico on June 25th. You can go to the website and make reservations, and the speaker is none other than the mayor of Sanibel, Kevin Ruane. So he should have lots of good stuff. He's going to talk about lots of good things, including some water quality issues as well. So we're looking forward to seeing him. So please sign up and make that reservation. Just because you're not a member doesn't mean you can't show up. And just go ahead and reserve on our website. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Webb. And Mr. Wachulis?
Thanks again, Kevin and Forrest, for your service. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Mr. Banks?
Well, I meant to say, always be close, Jeff. You are close.
And Ms. Cronin? Very good. Thank you very much. I wanted to just close with a couple comments. The Florida Governor's Conference on Tourism, the one that Mr. Councilman Banks talked so highly of, will be August 31st through September 2nd this year. But they do need your RSVP by July 10th, 2015. It'll go to Fran? Okay. So make sure you get your RSVP in on time by July 10th, 2015. And then briefly, just before we go today, I wanted to touch on a really important joint mission that we made, that Tamara and I made along with the folks at the airport. So this year I have the honor and privilege of serving as the chairman of both the TDC and also the Port Authority. And one of the big things that's happened this year is we've gotten a new flight to San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's a direct flight, and for the first time ever in Lee County's history, we've got a flight that goes to the Caribbean. That's a nonstop flight. I think, you know, it wasn't just a joint effort between the TDC and the Port Authority. We also invited the Collier County, they're a Convention and Visitors Bureau, not to be confused with the Visitor and Convention Bureau that we have here. We had the folks from Collier County come with us as well on a regional effort to go down to Puerto Rico to meet with tourism and airport officials down there and talk about how we can make the most of this relationship in this new direct flight from Southwest Florida. I think the first thing that I was struck by was that this really truly is a compliment to our efforts here in Southwest Florida. This flight actually originates out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, so it brings plane loads of people from one of our best markets down to Fort Myers, and then it goes on to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I think that's a great opportunity. Anytime you can get folks from the Midwest down here, I think it gets in their mind that this is a great place that they should be and they should spend their dollars here. And I think folks will actually end up visiting both destinations because of this flight. The thing that I was struck by while we were there and talking to people in Puerto Rico was that we're actually connecting more than 60,000 people in Southwest Florida, according to the U.S. Census, who have friends and relatives in Puerto Rico with Puerto Rico. And so it almost seemed like it was canned, but planned, but it wasn't. We went out to dinner the first night we got there, and the server actually told us when he was asking where we were from, what we were doing, his father owns property in Fort Myers, and so he's looking forward to visiting and said he would love to get on that direct flight back to Fort Myers in our area. So hopefully we'll see a lot of visitation both ways from this. The other thing that also struck me too was, a big reason why a lot of folks will leave Puerto Rico to come to the United States is for higher education purposes. Well, one of the persons, Raul, who was an attorney in Puerto Rico, he guided us during our trip there. He actually went to Edison State College here, and played baseball and everything back in the day. So it was really neat to see the connection already to, between this area and Puerto Rico, and I thought it was a worthwhile venture, and I look forward to great things coming out of that. And that airline, Sun Country, has also announced that they plan to begin flights to Cancun in October. So we'll have more opportunities out of the Lee County Port Authority very soon. And with that, I guess if there's nothing further, Ms. Pygott, Mr. DeGillet, Council, this has been a great meeting. Let's adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.